Jason, so again, coming from the perspective of a federal regulator again, and an independent quasi-judicial tribunal, can't have been easy to engage in something like this over which you don't really have control. And again, coming from a sector very different from some of the other financial supporting organizations, the nuclear sector, long experience with public confidence challenges and successes. What stimulated CNSC's engagement, and what's your experience been like?
Nuclear regulators don't get invited out often, so I recall it's not as good a story as Richard's in terms of the first conversation with Monica. Skeptical, and I guess by nature, nuclear regulators are somewhat skeptical about getting involved in initiatives. We're one of those overburdened regulators within this system. But I will say, first and foremost, and we may have been a little late, actually. When I reflect back on when we signed on, we said...
You were the late adopters, you guys.
We were, I think we were just 6 months or so. We attended a first workshop and said, what is this? Is this going to be a Sesame Street? One of these things is different, and it's the nuclear guys. They're not like the oil and gas conversation that's going on. I will say, though, that there's one thing that's true of the 900 professionals within our organization, and it's true of Canadians' expectations of their nuclear regulator, and that is that you make every effort to improve what it is that you do every day to keep nuclear safe in this country. And so after we saw the first couple of workshops, we're going, hey, this is kind of neat. This is where we should be. And our experience then realized, hey, wait a second, we're not alone. We do live in a nuclear bubble. I will tell you that in the nuclear bubble, some of what we struggle with never sort of sees the light of day. Some of you may have heard about it yesterday when it makes something like The Current, CBC The Current. Those of you that are listening to that and get radioactive waste story for 15 minutes and then it fades away. That's what we deal with every day inside our little nuclear bubble. When I woke up this morning, I know Ted Gretzner is going to speak this afternoon, and I'll steal one of his stats that he may mention this afternoon. When I woke up this morning, nuclear was supplying 72.5% of this province's electricity, yet probably, and this is an informed audience, but if I give you 72.5% between 5 and 6 a.m. this morning, that number probably surprises even this informed audience. 1 million radioactive shipments every year in this country. It's got to get fuel from northern Saskatchewan to this market and an international market. It's got to get radioactive isotopes to hospitals. Everybody expects nuclear medicine to be there when we need it and our friends and family need it. And we need to be there to make sure that that system is safe and that Canadians are engaged in it. And so we've really enjoyed this conversation over the last couple of years. I won't repeat some of what's been said, but I will build on one of the last comments, which is we've also taken the reports and used them internally, analyzed them internally, shared them internally with our staff, and that's caused some conversations to be had internally to the organization. In terms of going forward, this is an iterative conversation. I've heard today, yesterday, throughout this transition that we're in is probably 4 or 5 decades anyways. Some of the projects that we're regulating in this space are either going to be generating power till the 2050, 2060s, or some of the projects that we regulate, as long as there's organized Canada, there will be organized nuclear regulation where trust needs to be maintained with the public. And so that iterative, inclusive conversation is something that we're proud to be a part of. I will say, and everyone's commented and complimented the leadership and the caliber of the council, et cetera. Listening to some of those calls, Dave, you're masterful in terms of organizing everyone. Monica and Mike, some of the papers that you've done have been absolutely amazing. If you are not a funder, you should be a funder. Monica, you're probably too proud and humble to ask them outright. But if you're not on those lists, it's one of the funding decisions that we've made in the last few years. And so thanks for including the radioactive nuclear regulator in this initiative. Thanks.
That's great, Jason. Thank you.